study. Today's church is an all-accepting, Bible-based, Christ-centered metaphysical church, and kingdom is our brand of new thought. Our vision is to meet the holistic and diverse needs of all people through our mission of fellowship, overflow, outreach, and teaching. Our colors are purple for royalty and Black for integration. Our core values are reflected in our logo of the puzzled heart, reflecting our call to love God, love ourselves, and to love everyone else in that order. We believe that today's church is the place where all the pieces come together. Thank you all for joining us in our Bible study discussion. And it is my pleasure to introduce our facilitator this evening, Deacon Shepherd Mother, Renee Denard Cole.
Good evening, and thank you, Najda, and thank you for that beautiful meditation. I had mentioned to my class yesterday that even though some of them go to a Bible study on Wednesday night, they could still come to the collective consciousness prayer on 6:30. That's how we ended up having Elaine with us tonight, because she has a class at 7, but she was able to join us for the collective consciousness prayer. I'm becoming more aware of how to get people to different things without interfering with what they have to do. And that's part of what we do, I would say, as leaders. And one of the things that we're going to be talking about tonight is leadership in some of our studies. So we're just about at the end of Jeremiah, and we're seeing the change that is coming about because the people are in Babylonia, and now what Jeremiah is telling about is what can happen when they get out. You know, rather so more so than I've already told y'all was going, so you didn't believe you was going, now you're there. But maybe I can tell you some stuff now and you'll listen. Maybe you've learned some lessons now that will allow you to do what it is you need to do to do better. So let's go here to our lessons for tonight. Jeremiah 31 through 35. The first scripture is, the Lord says, the days are coming when I will make a new covenant with the houses of Israel and Judah. And, you know, that's kind of like what happened with the Old and the New Testament. There are a lot of things that people were involved in the Old Testament because Jesus had not come yet. But now that did not mean that people did not know Jesus was coming. And that did not mean that they didn't know what to expect. So the Lord has realized, the Lord didn't have to realize, but Jeremiah realizes that what God is saying now is that, okay, we tried to keep them from going. Now let's get them back. And so there's some things that are going to change. And one of the things was from hands to heart. So in the old thing, it was the law that they lived by. And with the change, it would be love that they would live by. And that there would be a time when we would not be concerned, like from hands to heart, from Moses with the tablets and coming down and breaking them and going back to get them, to us coming into a place of love instead of harsh punishment. You know, a lot of people still live by those things. A lot of people still live by what's in the Old Testament, and they wouldn't tell you, that's in the Old Testament. Well, that's why there's a New Testament. because things change. It's the same thing with why there are so many different Bibles. Because as things change and people need to understand what's going on, we're all the way to a Message Bible that breaks everything down from the thee, thou, and they to, what's happening. So here we are going from one thing to another and drawing people to a new covenant, drawing them from people to personal responsibility instead of everybody getting punished for what you did. They'll get punished for what they did. Just because I'm in the group doesn't make me have to suffer with everything else. Because everything that would happen, like if somebody in the house did something, the whole house got burned down. You couldn't run and say, it wasn't me. No, it was the people. It was everybody. Nothing was individualized. Nothing was made where anybody took responsibility for their own stuff. And here we come to a point where it's like, okay, I can't blame anyone else for what I'm doing. Nobody made me do this. I have the gift of choice, and I can say and do whatever I choose to say and do. And the only person that it will impact is me. It's kind of like, I tell you what, when I was growing up, my cousin, who I'm 4 years older than, we lived together at my grandmother's during the day when my great grandmother was gone working before I started going to school. And I didn't have to do anything to get a beat. He could do it and I could get a beat. Because it was people. It wasn't on you, it was on whoever the group was. If I was in a group of kids and something happened, I may as well have been the one that happened, even if I had said, don't do it, I don't want to do it. None of that made any difference because it was that group thing. But finally, we have got to a point where we are held accountable for exactly what we do. So drawn to the new covenant, it was drawing us from the law to love, and it was drawing us from getting punished for a group of stuff and then just taking responsibility for ourselves. And then from death to deliverance. I don't know about you, but I'm very glad we came from death to deliverance, because whatever you did, you was going to get stoned to death. You were going to get stoned to death. No adultery, stealing, whatever it was, the penalty was death. And now it's not that way. It's deliverance. It's let's work this out. Let's bring this up and out so we can be healed. Let's do something to make sure that we know there is a difference. God works with us now, and it's not that thing where whatever you do, you gonna die. It isn't like that anymore. It's actually at a point now where there are consequences for things, but they don't all end in death. And this was a thing I believe that people thought about once they were there. Now, I could be very wrong because I was not there, but I can just know that it would just make me feel better to know that when I do get out of here, if that girl over there does something, I'm not going to get in trouble for it. It's going to be on that girl over there and not on me. It's going to be something that I won't have anything to do with. And if I do something, if I get in trouble, I won't necessarily die for doing it. I will not be stoned to death. Whatever you did, people brought you outside and stoned you to death. I don't know if I could. I'm so grateful that I was not in that time. I'm grateful that I'm here reading about it and not saying, oh yeah, I remember that. No, I don't remember that. I'm glad. So what do you think about the new covenant? What do you feel when you think about the fact that as harsh as everything was, it was just like, there's only one answer. There's only one way to do this. There's only one way to handle this. How do you feel about that? I can't see anybody being unhappy. Naja?
I don't know if I'm directly answering your question, but I counted 3 times in the scriptures that we read, and I know it's in scriptures before, where God says, I will be your God and you will be my people. That's not a question. So in his infinite wisdom, he made it so.
Yes.
And about that people to personal responsibility, in the workplace, when they call a meeting, I called it the group slam, because the supervisor would start talking about, what was wrong. And I used to feel like at the end, it was like, well, maybe I did do that. It used to drive me nuts. But the other part of it is, whoever did it, they never admitted that they had done wrong.
I understand exactly what you mean. But as we grow, we also know that even in situations like that, we know whether we are responsible anymore. We're not, it's not so easy. It's not so easy for someone to put us in that group and make us feel like it was us. We may not jump up and say it wasn't me, but in ourselves, we know that, okay, this time they're not talking to me at all. So I just let them go ahead. I don't feel any kind of way about this because I am not in that.
Really?
But I understand exactly what you mean about being in something and hearing everybody going through it, and you like, God, maybe yeah, no, that's over too. That's over too. That's over too.
Mm-hmm.
So what is happening here is that God is God is saying, I believe they've learned the lesson now. Because what they really had to learn was that God meant what God said. And that Jeremiah was not a hoax. And that Jeremiah was giving them information. So by the time they got in Babylonia, and when Jeremiah would talk, now they'll listen. Now they'll hear what he has to say. Cheryl?
With regards to the second point, people to personal responsibility, God's, in his, like Najda said, in his sovereign wisdom, God has, I believe, to me, it reminds me of being set free from a collective guilty verdict to individual responsibility, and that is a certain freedom, because you're not being held accountable for everybody's stuff. So there's a certain degree of freedom in that.
Yes.
In the new covenant.
We were happy for it. I'm glad it is in now. I'm glad it's in now, because there are a lot of things that happen that if you're not careful, you're sucked into it without even realizing it, and you're sucked into it, and then it's like, what just happened? What just happened? But by drawing this new covenant, it made things more individual. It brought it from that collective, like you said, Cheryl, from that collective to an individual point of view. And that made all the difference. Now, in the next one, chapter 32, it's yours, Jeremiah chapter 32 and verse 15. Najda, why don't you read that for us?
The Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, says, Houses, fields, and vineyards will be possessed again in this land. Jeremiah 32:15, the Kingdom Study Bible.
Come on back home. We got stuff for you. Jeremiah, go get that property. Go get the property. Make it ready for them, and let's get it at a lower price. I think about when I read that, I thought about when my husband and I bought our house. There was a house in the lot behind us that a girlfriend or somebody had burned down. You know, she was mad at a boyfriend or something, burned the house down. So there was on the property next to us where we were having our centering service, where we were parking at the centering service. There used to be a house there. And so we were able to purchase it. And the redemption of it was that we were able to purchase it for the price that the lien was on it for something that had happened. And so we got that property for something like $2,000-3,000. And the only thing that they asked us to do was not to put anything on it that we were gonna make, that we were gonna profit from, that we were gonna have something like a store, you know, a restaurant or something like that. So the redemption was that we were able to get the same good property for a less price. And this is what God is saying, having Jeremiah let them know. You will get all this land again. And because of the lessons that you've learned, you will get a better price for it. You know, it's kind of like, well, it's like what I said, you know, getting the property for less than what it was actually appraised for and being able to use it. Cheryl?
The blue light special.
Yes, the blue light special. What happened to those? They went to buy one, get one free. and buy one, get one free means that the buy one gonna cost as much as two would cost.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
Exactly.
So
That blue light special may be dating us.
yeah, I know, but that was those were the days. And you could see the blue light. That was the other thing. It wasn't just called the blue light special. You'd be in the store and see the thing up with the light blue, and you would go over to where that was to get the stuff. Oh my God. I hadn't thought about that in a long time. Yes. So once the property came, he said, not only am I going to give you this property, I'm going to make sure that you are able to afford it. You know, it's kind of like when you've been on punishment, your mama beat you or your grandmama or whoever it is, and then they bring out and they have made some bread pudding or something. And they come and say, well, come on, sit down, have a brownie with some ice cream or have some ice cream or something. Because we've all gotten to a point then where we've settled in, we've learned the lesson. We hope we've learned the lesson. They hope we've learned the lesson. God hopes they've learned the lesson. So let's do something to let you know that everything is okay. And God is saying, I will give you everything again. I'm bringing you back to the promised land. I'm giving you an opportunity to have the things that you could have had before. And now we're going to do this thing and see if we can work out something where you know that this is going to be okay. But make sure that you can prove that it's yours. Let's get the whole package. Let's not get part of it. Let's get all of it. We don't want somebody else coming up talking about squatters' rights. We want to be able to just have this and have it because God is saying it is yours. It is all yours. It was always yours. But the way that you were living, you just couldn't have it. You see, that's the thing that we always have to remember. We all have everything. It's just how do we get to it? How do we manage to make it manifest? What are we doing to make what is already ours really ours? And so that we can reap from what it is. Because there's nothing that we don't have. It is where we are in our consciousness, because the house is the consciousness. And it's about what's in our consciousness that allows us to move into the different parts of it. Some people have a house with no furniture. Some people have a house with maybe a chair. Some people's houses are filled with furniture. But as we grow, so does everything else grow. So does everything else really manifest in us. There's nothing that we don't have. There's absolutely nothing that we don't have. But where do we work, and what do we do to get to the documentation, the deed saying, and you know this is mine. And you know this is mine. And I know this is mine. That this doesn't belong to all that I have in me is mine. How I bring it out of me is up to me. And once I can do that, I'll be fine. I'm fine now because I know that as I grow, I continue to get the things that I need. And the things that I need and the things that I desire become one at some point, where there's nothing that is going on where I just got to have something else. I don't have to have. It's just there for me. I've got the house, I through the redemption, and now I have the deed. Okay, so we go on to, anybody want to say anything else about that before we go to chapter 33? All right. No lack in leadership. I like this. I like this. Cheryl, go ahead and please read Jeremiah 33:18 for us.
Nor will there be a lack of priests and Levites who will stand before me continuously to offer burnt offerings, to burn grain offerings, and to present sacrifices. Jeremiah 33, verse 18.
God is getting them prepared to see that everything is going to be good. Goodness is on the way. The kings and queens. Well, you know, that would be the political people. The people, the people who are the governor, the mayor, all those people. Because there's gotta be leadership. There's no lack in leadership. Without leadership, what we gonna do? Run around in a circle? It'll kind of be like the dog running after his tail. It's just, you're just running in a vicious circle and nothing is showing you, nothing is leading you to anything else. Jesus, our way shower, led the way for us. And then we have other people who lead us. In this priest and Levite, we're talking about spiritual leadership. The leaders, the ministers, the deacons, the elders, the overseers, the bishops, the spiritual leaders. This is that priests and Levites that run things. And there's nothing, and there's nothing that they do that doesn't show leadership. You know, I don't know of anyone in today's church, Tampa Bay, that we wouldn't see doing something that, you know, some other people say, I would never do that. You know, if something needs to happen in the bathroom, there we go. If we need greeters, here we are. Whatever we need, somebody will get up and do it, because spiritually, we are the leaders. We are the people who do the stuff. We're the people that get things done. And as we grow, there are other people who do them. You know, we've all been in positions where we were the only one doing something, and then suddenly there were other people. we were the only person doing this, and now there's somebody else that. And as we keep going, there's somebody else. I look at the daily download, and streaming the daily download, and streaming the daily download, and streaming the daily download. And then one day saying, you know, I know some people that might, you know, desire to do this. And granted, I did get some people to do this daily download, but Patrick, I just found out if you go somewhere, it's me. I messed up, I think. I think I wasn't supposed to get that right Sunday.
It's all good.
But it was a joy to do that, though, really. It was a joy. It probably took me way longer than it takes you. But
You'd be surprised.
I don't know. I don't know. I had to come up with some things. But the priests and the Levites were the spiritual leaders. And then the elders and the people were the members, the family, the congregation. And what happened was, it was not just some people, it was families that were worshiping together, that were coming together. There's no lack in leadership. You know, every Sunday we have this thing about, in fact, we did it Sunday when we say, I lack nothing. The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. Because we have no lack in the leadership. I know we have no lack in the leadership of today's church, Tampa Bay. And the people that are right here in this Bible study are the people that are the proof of that. That's the proof of it. And the thing is that we are constantly doing things to increase what we do, to get to another place in what we do. We come to Bible study, we come to church, we do special projects, we go to classes. There's always something to complete and make that leadership never to be lacking. There's always somebody to do something. If we're even at a point now that we've gotten to a point now that when we can't do something, we go and find somebody else and ask them if they can take our place. We don't have one person running around saying, now who could I get to do that? The person that was in charge of doing it is the person that says, look, do you think you could do this for me today? I'm not going to be in town. Could we switch? You know, it's a thing that shows the leadership of that. And what God is saying to Jeremiah, let them know that everything is taken care of. There's nothing that there's nothing that you really need to worry about, because we're filled with leadership. What do we have? What is our leadership, membership, and discipleship? Discipleship, membership, leadership. I can't remember which ways it goes.
Discipleship, membership, and leadership.
Okay, discipleship, membership,
And leadership.
leadership. Okay. And that is what this is about. It's about discipleship, membership, and leadership. There will be no lack of priests and Levites who will stand before me continuously. There will always be someone. Let me tell you something. When those people went to Babylonia, I bet they say, Lord, 70 years of this, when I get out of here, the last thing they got to worry about me doing is anything with some idol gods. No. If I see somebody with an idol god, I'm going to get as far away from them as I possibly can. Because you'll find out, like in chapter 34, that everybody didn't go to Babylon, even though it seemed like it did. There were some people who did not go. So here we are in chapter 34. Patrick, why don't you read that? Can you read that that verse for us, please?
Before we go,
Oh, wait a minute. Cheryl has her hand up, and so does not.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I just wanted to, again, in his sovereign wisdom, God, even though they were in captivity, he let them know through Jeremiah that even though you've been under somebody else's subjection, there are still leaders in your ranks
That's right.
for every level of life.
Of life.
To lead the nation, to lead the church and be responsible for keeping the church going and for governing the people on every level. There were still leaders in preparation, standing in the wings
Waiting.
for such a time as when it was time for them to take their leadership role.
Very good point. Very good point. Naja?
Well, as to today's church, it has never been, nor will it ever be, a join the church, sit in the back, and kind of fade into the ozone.
No, you know.
So, I'm telling you, if you're in today's church, you're gonna do something. You really are. And when I think back at things that I had to do early on in the church, I could just kind of smile because when I was told, I was like, I can't do that. I cannot do that. I did it. Thank God. But what I really like about us is that we encourage each other. We do. I don't think if somebody got up there and did that cat commercial, that anyone would say, no, that wasn't it. So, that's the best cat commercial I ever heard. But yeah, I'm grateful for, us and the way we worship and the things that we are learning and the things that we are doing.
Yes. And it's good to say that sometimes because, people, and the thing about it is anyone that is watching has no idea what anybody has had to go through to get to what it is that they're doing, or how it just jumped up and all of a sudden that's what we were doing, and how things can just change right before our very eyes, and thinking that somebody's gonna do this and then all of a sudden they can't do that, and then somebody else is just up there doing it. It's a group of leaders. It's a whole church of leaders. And like Cheryl was saying, no level of leadership is without leadership. There's no level of it. Like she's saying, the political, the spiritual, or the family part of it, everything is taken care of. And I'm just grateful to be a part of something like that. I don't know about anybody else, but it is a very exhilarating thing for me to feel all right all the time. And it's even more exhilarating that when I try to not feel all right, there's some principle, there's some process, there's something that comes up in my head that snaps me out of it right away. Wherein before it would take me months, maybe, or weeks or something to get over things. And now it's like, okay, I did enough of that. We moving right on. Because of all of the tools and everything that we have in order to get these things done, but that comes from no lack in leadership. Okay, Patrick, would you read 34 and 11 for us, please?
But afterwards, they changed their minds. They captured the slaves they had freed and enslaved them again. Jeremiah 34 and 11, Kingdom Study Bible Translation.
We know this story. We absolutely know this story. We know this story through the stories we know from Juneteenth. It's Emancipation Proclamation. We have seen this story over and over again. And sometimes people that were in bondage were the people putting other people in bondage, because they forgot about what it was like to be in bondage. They forgot about what it would be to to take somebody and do that. So here they are with these people thinking they're free, and suddenly they're not. They've taken them back. And that is just where we forget what we've been through, where we get to a point where hopefully none of us are in this, but there's a point where the things that you went through are so far in the back of your mind that when you see somebody else going through it, it doesn't faze you. And it puts you in a state of, oh, I wonder what happened with them. Instead of, I can do something to help them. It becomes a thing where you're willing to help the other people to get them into whatever it is. But here we are with the people forgetting what they went through and going back and capturing people again. But I looked at that thing, and there was this 7-year law where after 7 years, everything would be okay, because most of the people that were enslaved because they couldn't pay their taxes. It was something to do with debt. And I don't know if well, I know for me, I know that in 7 years, whatever is on my credit is gone. I know that this 7-year law still applies today. When a person is in a debt after 7 years, they are let go. It is gone. And they forgot about that 7-year law. They were still trying to hold on to people. But there was a law that said, no, you have paid your debt. You have been in this for 7 years. You may go now. Now, you may go now and do the right thing, or you may go now and we can start these 7 years over again. But that's up to you. But there's a way that when you get out of this, you can be out of this. And there won't be anybody coming up to you talking about, well, you got to go back because 7 years ago you did this, you did. No, that was the 7-year law. Once the 7 years are up, it's done. It's done. And with the Babylonian captivity, you know, we have a way of doing that to ourselves. Well, you know what? Sometimes when I talk about these things, I believe I'm talking to somebody else, because I just believe that we have reached a point in our lives that we can discuss things like this and know that we have actually healed ourselves from them. You know, to know that we are not forever learning this lesson, that we are not forever in a position where these things really apply to us anymore. But they are good reminders. They're good things to keep us from forgetting that this can happen. But we also know that there's a new covenant. And in that new covenant, the penalties are not the same as they were then because of Jesus. So it's kind of like trying to deal with something that we've done, and just saying, let's not forget it. Let's not forget that we were in this position. And let's not forget what it felt like. And let's not look at anyone else feeling like, I can't believe they're doing this. And the thing about it is, in that, in the 35th chapter, never have I ever played this game. I have heard of this game many, many times. This never have I ever thing. But in this one, it was an ego trip going on with these people who had lived in the tents. We have lived in tents, and have fully obeyed everything our forefather Jehonadab commanded us. In other words, we followed every law that we had. We followed every law that we have. And Jeremiah said, yeah, you did, but you also broke the law. Don't put yourself in a position that because you never drank, okay, you didn't drink wine, but you did something. That's why we can have the recovery Sunday and say we're all recovering from something. See, it used to be a time that the only people that anybody thought were bad were people that used drugs. Because, you know, alcohol is legal. So, you know, I can drink. I'm not going to jail for drinking, but I can go to jail for drinking too much. So when these people became, I kind of look at them as they lived in tents, but they were snobs because they felt that they were so different from everyone. Did anybody else see that? Or was that just me seeing that? Can somebody put another spin on this other than what I'm doing? Cheryl.
They were paying homage to one of their ancestors or predecessors or forefather, whichever way you want to put it. But the children of Israel and Judah were to be worshiping the true and living God. This other person, this forefather, was a dead person. Yes, was a dead person, and I know, and from what I've read, it seemed that that was just one of their policies was not to drink. One of the things that their people held in high esteem is that they don't drink, you know, but still they were paying homage to a dead person and holding him and revering him. So
they were still doing the
it was still misguided,
Okay. All right. Yeah. So I just want to make sure because I'm saying because it just seemed to me like they felt like, you know, we did all the things they told us to do, but this is not God's law. Yeah, this you and Jehonadab now talking about this, and who is Jehonadab? You know, and they felt like they couldn't do hard work, and you know, and we don't have to do that because if something happens, all we got to do is pack up our tents and go to somewhere else where everybody else is stuck with where they are. You know, looking at it as an advantage when really there wasn't an advantage in it because they were having issues just like anybody else. And that wasn't the only thing that made you holy not to drink wine.
And they were practicing separatism.
Yes.
The isms and the schisms.
All of it. We don't bother with y'all. We over here in our tents and y'all over there in y'all houses. And we got this. Well, that's not a good way to be. That's really not a good way to be. And not only that, who is anybody to look at anyone else and decide that they're better than them? We know that happens. We know that happens. But the more we grow, the more we realize that that's not the case. When I see people like that, I thank God because I know that could have been me. All I had to do was make a different choice, and I didn't make it. But it didn't mean that it doesn't make me any better than that person. It just means that at that point, I didn't make the choice that person made. But there was something in my life where I made a bad choice. I don't think it was in my best interest to try to commit suicide, for God's sake. I don't see any advantage in that. So you see, there are things that happen in our lives that compared to it, they weren't even willing to look at the fact that we might not be doing this, but we're doing this. We may not be doing whatever they're doing with the wine, but here we are over here with this, and we just living this kind of life. We shouldn't be in a place where we don't become, where we're not the all accepting that we desire to be or that we should be. To look at other people and just say, oh, well, that's too bad for them. I'm sorry to hear that. The biggest lesson that I have received, I think, with being in the Today's Church was having church at the Good Samaritan. For me, having church at the Good Samaritan taught me a lot, because there are people from all walks of life at the Good Samaritan. And it was, you know, and you come in going, oh my God, I can't touch that. I can't, oh. And all of a sudden you realize, what is this you doing? What are you doing? Why are you here? What are you here for? You're here to set an example. You're here to bring people to God. The people that you are here to bring to God, you don't even want to deal with. What is that? What is that? And I can remember the first time I went and hugged somebody. I remember somebody looking at me like, what is wrong with you? No, what is wrong with you? Because what these people are looking for is what we have. And the only way that they get it is if we give it to them. So we cannot separate ourselves from a situation and be looking at people like, I tell you, we had some people in church Sunday. We had a guy in church Sunday that was talking back to Dr. Pulley and saying good stuff. You remember him? I mean, he was on it. He was in there listening and just all in. But you see, there has to be people who are willing and able to welcome people, because we don't know what these people are going through and we don't know what they really need. And we have had people to come in there and just sit and cry through the whole church. And then in the end, we get with them, we talk with them, we pray with them. And it is the best thing ever. And I don't believe that we would have ever gotten to that had we not gone to Good Samaritan. Had we not done that, there was a whole group of people that we did not really realize that all they needed was someone to share what was going on with them and not to, snub them. So when we look at never have I ever, we do not desire to even have to have that statement, to use that statement. It's a statement of what are those people called? I can't think of it. Of the elite. I don't know if it's elite. I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. But they're the people who think that they're above everything that's going on anywhere. I can't think of what you call them.
Sadiddy?
That's a good one. I wasn't thinking Sadiddy, but that's the word.
The bourgeois.
Aren't you too young for Sadiddy?
I'm older than I look.
So as we continue through this book of Jeremiah, all those things that Jeremiah went through to get these people to where they are just actually gives us an example of a really good leader. of a person who was absolutely committed to what God desired for him to do, without question, without being concerned about what was happening to him, because he knew that God was taking care of him. The thing that I believe that hurt him the most was that he was not able to get these people to see what he was trying to show them. But the thing about it is, in everybody's life, there's a time when no matter what people say to us, we're going to try it anyway. We're going to try it anyway. Because we just have that thing about, that might have happened to you. But here's that, never have I ever. Oh, but that can't possibly happen to me. When yes, everything is possible. But in order for it not to be possible, is to be in a consciousness, knowing that everything that is happening for your good. Knowing that no matter what happens, God is always there. God is with you at all times. There's never a time when God is not with you. And that is the thing that will get us to a point of not being afraid to do anything, because we have the protection of God. We have the protection of God, and we have to continue to tell ourselves that that we're in that protection and that we're being provided for every single day of our lives. There's nothing that is going on that will harm us unless it's supposed to be something that's supposed to be a lesson. When we get that in our heads, we can move about we can move about the boat with ease, with no seasickness or nothing, because we are realizing that everything that we're doing, our whole day is normally constructed and ordained by God. Our whole day, every day. So there's no reason for us to have any doubt about it. Of course we do, but that's only when we forget. That's only when we forget. And I don't know about you, but my forgetfulness is getting fewer and fewer times. I'm getting to a point where a lot of these things I kind of remember now. And they don't always come back to bite me in the butt, because I remember. And when we remember, it's when things go the best way. We have about, let's see, that was chapter 35. We've got about 7 more chapters, I think, in Jeremiah. Let me see, how many chapters is it? 42. Let me think, let me check. Where's my Bible? Oh no, we got 52. So yeah, we got a little ways to go. I don't know where I got 42 from. So there are 52 chapters. So next week, we will do chapters 36 to 40. Chapters 36 to 40. And one of the things I'm going to be doing this week is working on getting more people in Bible study. And getting more people in Bible study. Last week, I worked on getting people for collective consciousness prayer, and I did get one. So I know if I can get one, I can get some more. But it's just a matter of taking out the time to do a little bit more missionary work than I normally do. I do a lot of other work, but the on the ground stuff is the things that we have to get back to, because we have so many other things that we do. But I have found that if I've started doing this. If somebody comes to mind, I just call them and see what's going on with them. And before I hang up, I just have a prayer with them. I don't try to get them to come anywhere or do anything, but I just remind them that we are here. And I remind them that when it is time, we will still be here. We'll still be here. And so if you have people that you know that have been members or may desire to be members or whatever it is, utilize that talent that you have, because they're people that you know. And so it's not as hard as trying to call somebody, like what they call it, cold turkey. When we have a list and a group of people that have been coming to the church for a very long time, and now it's time to do a little bit more missionary work than we do, and not be just okay with, well, we're here, so, you know, we got a lot of good stuff for people that people need to know. But sometimes we have to just remind people that these things are happening. We have to remind them that there's a way to be all right. So that's just a little plug. You know, that happens to me from time to time. Najida?
Yes, ma'am. Once again, we thank you for joining our today's Church Tampa Bay's Collective Consciousness Prayer. The month of August for us, our color of the month is silver, which represents wealth, vision, and clarity. Our outreach emphasis in national wellness. Body system is the feet. The kingdom principle is divine protection. Spiritual practice is music, singing, and praising. The disciple is Judas, and the feminine energy is the woman with the issue of blood. And at this time, we'll participate in our giving ministry. You may write a check payable to today's Church Tampa Bay, 2411
2114
2114 North 54th Street North,
54th Avenue North.
54th Avenue, St. Petersburg, Florida,
33714.
714. So if you will, or you can give by electronic donation to Givelify, Cash App, Venmo, and Zelle. So if you would place your left hand on your mobile device, which is the hand of favor, and cover it with your right hand, which is the hand of work. And in the spirit of giving, let's be mindful that there are always opportunities to give our time, our talent, and our treasures. With that understanding, please hold in your offering or phone in your left hand, the hand of work, and cover it with your right hand, the hand of favor. For our virtual members, the prosperity affirmation is on the screen, and please repeat after me. Prosperity is a fountain that flows from our health to harmonious relationships to wealth. Prosperity is always flowing unless we block it. We remove all barriers, blocks, and boulders and allow the flow of our individual, corporate, and collective prosperity. It is so it is, and so we let it be. Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Well, we had a great discussion this evening, and we invite you to join us next week, not only for our Bible study, which starts at 7 o'clock, but our collective consciousness prayer, which starts at 6:30. Have a great night, weekend. Bless you, and good night.
Also, let's continue to reach out and support Patrick as he is still working with his mother and supporting her in her healing. We're glad to know that everything is working, and know that we are here for you.
Thank you.
And the one thing I know is that she will be just fine. I can see her right now on the front row in convocation, having the best time of her life. I'm telling you,
Yes.
if anybody enjoyed convocation, it was your mother.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Absolutely. I mean, it was a delight to watch her. She was having a ball.
She had
And
it.
so I know that fortified her for this.
Yeah.
That fortified her for that. That is exactly what she needed. And so we are grateful. And we are here for you, Patrick, in any capacity that you need. And know that we love you. All right. Y'all
let
have
us-
a good night.
Let us not forget Minister Connie,
Oh,
her mother
yes.
transition.
Yes, yes.
So send her love
Yes.
and light. And
And I don't know how many of you knew Deborah Ruffin Dorsey. She was in our daily download group. She transitioned last week as well. She was one of my buddies. She called me auntie.
Mm.
There were three of them. There was Deborah Elaine, who was in our class in our collective consciousness prayer tonight, and Queen Nzinga Bohanna. Those three were, I call them the terrific three. So yeah. So yeah, keep them in your mind, keep them in your heart. I've been calling them every day. But yeah.
okay,
So if there's nothing, go ahead, Naja.
I was going to say good night for real this time.
Oh yeah, good night for real. Good night for real. Love you all. Good night.